All right, good evening. Hey, happy Monday and welcome again to another edition of Mental Health Matters with Marty. We are so glad that you're joining us here on More Radio Network and so excited. Listen, I'm so excited. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And as we go out throughout this month, the goal is to make us more aware of what's going on with our mental health. And so glad to have my son is going to be joining us today, Christian Sellers.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's up? What's up? No, burr.
Nah, I see you stealing my thunder.
Oh, okay, whatever. Anyway, just to bring another perspective. So we have father and son joining tonight. So glad to have that and everything. So listen, again, we want to solicit your calls tonight at 1-800-227-0880. If you have any questions or what have you, we want to have a great dialogue about mental health and what mental health is, especially in our communities of color, within our African-American community, because there's so much misinformation that is out there about mental health. And we want to help you to distill and dispel the myth and to stop the stigma. But we want people to stop suffering in silence, but to speak up, speak out, and live. That's my mantra that I say all the time. Speak up, speak out, and live. Too many of us have allowed secrets and hurt to pain us for so many years, and so many generations are carrying so much hurt. And that we have to stop it right now and stop being ashamed, being afraid of what others will think about us, but get some help. And what that means is speaking up, speaking out, and living. So talk to me, son. Talk to me real quick. What's your thoughts about mental health?
My thoughts is just, it's a time just to be kind of aware of your surroundings. You know, I think it's something that's very overlooked. And it's something that's screaming out nowadays,
right?
Even at the NBA and the NFL and professional, it's being more triggered now, you know? So,
okay. Do you think it's becoming more acceptable and more common talk, if I could say it that way?
Definitely. Because you hear it in music and, you hear it in newspapers, on the news a lot. So it's kind of becoming I guess you can say, trending topic in my urban dictionary.
Trending topic, yes.
So,
why so trending? Why do you think so trending?
Because of current events. Maybe it's like for me, I guess like I said, the NBA kind of implementing mental health into their own, like having players become more, get more mental health because of their issues. And I remember one NBA player, I forgot his name. He wasn't even going to, Derrick Rose. He wasn't even going to games because it was so strong and things from his community, from his culture. So it was rough for him to even really deal with it and even play on the court. So that's kind of a big standout, I'm just saying from my because that's kind of my realm as I'm a basketball player. So, that's kind of what I focus into and tap into media wise.
But I think what that shows, even with, mental health does not care about your color, your race, your sex, your money status, it doesn't care. And I think that speaks volumes that he had become so overwhelmed by his mental health conditions that he says, you know what? I don't care that there is a game. I have to take care of me so that I can be right. I can be a better person. Whatever the fine might be is not worth me sacrificing my mental health just to make sure everyone else is entertained, because sports is an entertainment world. And that we make sure that he made sure that he was taking care of that. Now let's talk about your generation specifically. Okay. What are the transitional age, that 16 to 24 population, what are they talking about, and what are you all talking about as it pertains to mental health?
I would say as our generation goes on, I would think more of the sex, because kind of the what is it? The
LGBTQ.
There we go.
Yes.
That community is kind of coming out more, and that's kind of a big tell sign because of the suicide awareness in there too as well. Because there's a lot of that community that's committing suicide. And that's kind of a big thing, because that's kind of it's kind of come that those laws of gay marriage and stuff like that has kind of shifted how things operate. So I think that's kind of a big thing, because everybody's kind of sensitive to that, that community, but that's kind of because it's different when you're younger and it wasn't accepted. But now as you're getting older and as you're going through the system, you kind of from 6 to like when you're in middle school, you kind of don't, distinguish between the two. And also you're like in high school is kind of the transition period where you're kind of searching for yourself. So it's kind of that kind of thing. And also as well, like back in the early 2000s, it wasn't as accepted more as it is now. So it's kind of
So let's even talk about, we're talking about, that LGBTQ and their acceptance. And from what I'm even gathering, what you're saying is that because of acceptance or lack of acceptance and exploring, that it can be very difficult. But what about let's talk about you being a young Black man. And what, that's where you were going next?
Yeah, I was gonna say that too,
I'll let you go.
Sorry, that was my second dimension.
But, okay, your second point.
Yeah, as well as like just us being that community, because it's kind of it's respect of I'll put it this, because my grandmother, we were having conversation about me voting and stuff like that. So that's kind of knowing your roots, you know what I'm saying? Like understanding your roots and being Black and having to navigate that. It's kind of hard, because it's a worry, or you can have anxiety about, well, what does my parents think, or what does my grassroots think about this, or you know what I'm saying? I gotta live up to this, and I gotta have, I have to vote, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that, like how can I vote and still keep it me, you know what I'm saying, not keep it so for my grandparents, but for me, I want to be an individual too, you know what I'm saying, like, so it's kind of it's a difficult, touchy topic, you know what I'm saying. So
maybe it's what I'm hearing you say, even some anxiety about still paying homage to your elders, your grandparents, and all that, while still yet finding out who you are in that as well, and sometimes the difficulties of that, and finding that balance in there for you as well. So why do you think even having discussions about mental health is so important today?
I think as well, passing it down through like just different things with, like, we don't know about things through our genes, you know what I'm saying? And discussing that will help a lot more, discussing those things. Well, my grandmother had this, and understanding what they had, because some of that stuff is passed down, you know what I'm saying? And
that's good.
Understanding that is
understanding family patterns is what I'm hearing.
Yes, there we go. Yes.
Okay. So understanding kind of some genetic things that might have been, because we don't talk about that. Last week we were talking about sharing stories.
Yeah.
And how you knew your 4 great grandmothers, and then you had a relationship with your grandmothers.
Yes.
And then the importance of sharing stories so that you understand your mental health, and even understand various mental health within your own community, within your own family, so that you better understand patterns in that sense as well. Do you think that we've lost some of that today?
Yes, I do think we have. Just because, to me personally, I think that, like I said, it's a different time. It's a growing time, you know, and it's a
Okay.
time where things are shifting very fast, and it's hard to keep your grasp. You know, it's hard to keep your roots. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to keep like my, I don't know how to say it. I'm searching for words. Keep my stain in my family.
Okay.
But I'm changing with the times, you know. So it's anxiety about that. Well, how can I keep this? But still, the times are changing. You don't know. You know, like my own family doesn't know. Like this is changing. Or this is going on. You know what I'm saying? So I think,
Yeah, I definitely hear, and that's where we're definitely sitting down and having conversations
yeah,
definitely do help. Not that we're trying to tell you what to do,
yeah,
but that we respect each other in this. So wonderful. Let's continue with this real quick before we go to. We're about to go to a commercial here shortly here, but the importance of talking about mental health amongst the younger generation, amongst you all, and even amongst my generation, with that as well, because we did not talk about mental health in the Black community because we always thought it was a rich or middle class white person's disease and not ours. With that as well, and I'm so glad to have my son here. But let's talk about some statistics and some basic stereotypes, because one of the things that I like to bring to the forefront is that mental health has become such a huge stigma in the African American community and even in many communities of color. But tonight I'm speaking specifically about the African American community because part of the reason is that of all of when we're dealing with mental health and we're dealing with medical medicines and so forth, there still is a distrust that it still exists in our community, especially in our older community with my generation and our parents' generations and our grandparents' generations. When we're talking about feeling safe, feeling secure in the medical field, when we look at the Tuskegee experiments and so many other things that have happened when they purposely injected syphilis into us. So that definitely creates distrust in the medical field. We have to also go with that there is also not enough information that's being sent out to our communities when it pertains to mental health. We know that there has been misdiagnosis when it comes to we in the Black and brown communities. We know that there have been medicines and psychotropic medicines that have not been prescribed properly. And if you're being misdiagnosed, of course, you're going to get misdiagnosed on the medications that you should be taking as well. For prime example, too often our African American men have been diagnosed as oppositional defiance or conduct disorder, when in actuality, because they display signs of anger, when in actuality, when you go deeper and have conversations and get past the immediate layers, you're seeing that a lot of anger is a result of depression because Black men have been suppressed in even how to adequately express themselves and to share their emotions. And so often with a lot of men in marital counseling, I'm finding that same thing. So I will often tell the wife or the girlfriend, listen, give him some time to think. Let him process his emotions in that regards as well. But then we look at racism and microaggressions that happen. Still today in the workplace, there still has lots of levels of tension, uneasiness for people of color, especially when we're talking about Black women. We look at hair, how they're discriminated against hair, and whether it's twists and dreads and locks when we don't understand that. Discriminating against our maybe our swag and our style, discrimination against a language and vernacular, and how racism still impacts our mental health on so many levels when you feel that you have to do a lot of code switching and putting on all these masks. That begins to wear on our psyche. What I wanted to talk about earlier, you brought up this amazing topic of where we're talking about suicide, and what that looks like in our African American communities, especially with, and I'm going to put it here, you brought up in the LGBTQ community, and I agree there is a lot of high suicide and attempted suicide in that. And then we also have to look at our African American men. Unfortunately, in the past 3 years, suicide for specifically African American males between the ages of 14 and 24 in that 10-year span has almost doubled in the past 3 years. And then I'm going to jump down and go even from 10 to ages 14, it has almost quadrupled in that regard. I know who at 10 years old thinks about suicide in that regards. And then the sheer fact that, yes, I wish there's another term, and we got to pin another term for this when we say successful suicide, because men definitely are more, quote unquote, and I say this putting parentheses around it, successful, meaning that they actually succeed or they actually die when it comes to suicide, because they are very intentional. They are usually very graphic in the way that they do it, in terms of jumping in front of trains, laying down on train tracks, jumping in front of buses, jumping off of bridges, or taking firearms and shooting themselves as well with that. So when we look at this, it is a cry for help that we need to have conversations with our young Black men. And I'm going to go all the way from the time they are in upper middle school at 8 and 9, all the way through college, college age, 24, 25, in that mid young adult age, to really have open dialogue, to talk about depression. And when you feel like life is too much and all of those things that tend to weigh Black men down, and where they believe that their only option is to end their lives. And that is so tragic and sad about that. So talk to me, son, about your views and what you know and has even personally have experience with maybe friends or what have you that have, whether you guys have had the discussion or that you might have known of individuals.
Definitely, I think as well, to add on to that, I think like aspects of in our community, we're very key to not accept somebody, if that makes sense. We're very key to make fun of somebody so quickly. And
why do you think that's so?
I don't know. I think it's a sense of like, we don't like if you like it, I'm gonna be like, oh nah, like oh man, that look whack. But really, I like it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where that stems from. I think it's a sense of wanting to be. I think it's a sense of wanting to be on top of you, or always have like a sense of empowerment, or to throw shade is to make me look good. You know what I'm saying? Or I want to be the top dog. Or
I hear you. Yeah. When did we come about as a people, and even your generation, when there is fear to say, dog, I think that is so dope, or I think that's so cool, or wow, I admire you for that, or hey, props to you, man, for doing that, where we have to not express. And see, that's part of the problem. We have been shamed in expressing our true feelings, likes, desires, wish, talents, or what have you, and this whole shaming that I do something well, or I like something that you do. You know, why? Where did this come about, and how do we change that?
I think it's a sense of, I would say we control the culture. if you want to be honest.
Okay.
So maybe the sense of, I don't know. That's a great question.
Right. And maybe it's a rhetorical question that we don't have the answer for, but definitely something that we need to definitely maybe, and I charge you and your generation to start having open dialogues about this.
Maybe it's also this. We do also see a trending thing of us saying our fathers are not around. So maybe it's a disconnect of that too as well. Maybe I can't get this acceptance from my dad, or this he don't tell me that I'm doing good, or he don't tell me I'm doing this, and we kind of feel like you said, we tap into our emotions to be like, oh well, then I'm gonna put it on this. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make it bad because like my dad ain't give me the attention at home. Maybe. Maybe that.
I like that because it does speak to. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm saying that loss of that connection and there needs to be a stronger connection between a father and son, African American father and son, because that's where the kind of the you got to understand that as I've seen a statistic in one of our sociology class that it's crazy how a black man has to work 2 times as hard as a white man to climb a ladder or to be more successful in that sense. So I think that father giving the son determination or encouragement all the time is something that they need, because you have to work that 2 times harder. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No. So what I'm saying is, one, I think you're speaking volumes to the importance and the power of building self-esteem, self-worth, self-value, pouring that into one, their sons, but even their children, period. But the power of that for our young men, since we're speaking specifically about them, the role that we as fathers, the important role, the role that cannot be replaced, duplicated, or anything like that, of why it is so important for a father to speak life, speak comfort, speak security, speak worth, speak value, speak all those things that they need, speak development and even courage into their sons' lives, but even into their children as a whole. So we're speaking specifically about sons, but also you were talking about how it's also important that we teach our young men that they don't have to put on a different mask, especially if we say at home, and that it's all right to wear your confidence, your security, your pride in all of that, and that you don't need to measure up to someone else's standard, that we can set the standard, that we can be the one that you strive for. And it's okay that I like this and you don't necessarily like it, but I still gel with you and I can still walk in confidence and not hold my head down.
Definitely. And even the simple fact of, it's crazy how you can say that, and like even if you walk down the hallway and be like, hey, my brother, like the nods we give, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, my brother, how you doing? Like it's just the simple thing that can go a longer way, you know what I'm saying, as encouragement for that person. Maybe that person is having a difficult day and you tell that dude he has some nice shoes on or something like that. That can make that confidence go up too, and that self-esteem go up too as well.
So how can we as Black men help make that change amongst each other so that we are showing and demonstrating more support, more love, more I got you in that? And even if I may, as a father, I say this, even I know you're my son, and you've seen me do this with all your friends with that, and even encourage them whose dads may not be around in that regards.
I'm sorry, you asked the question one more time.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, what can we do to help make a change in the lives of Black men that we are even in encounter with on a daily basis or monthly or whatever that might be?
I think being able to have those conversations about culture, about your past, maybe even about how you're feeling that day or how you're really truly feeling. You know what I'm saying? I think the stigma of also as well, like you said, being expressing your feelings, but being able, like people viewing it as you being mad or you being crazy or things like that, but having a safe place to be able to go and be like, hey man, I'm feeling like this today. Like
Right.
I just don't have it together. I just don't
Right.
have to, or if something happened the night before, like, oh dang, my dad's still not here. Why can't he accept me? You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't he just do this for me? Something simple, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think those simple things go a longer way. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it can kind of build the self-esteem and build the confidence of the person.
Right.
Just little things, that's something that can boost,
Yeah.
I feel. And even having those conversations with your friends,
Yes.
just throwing some things out there and
Yes.
just open-minded, and you may have arguments and you may feel type of way about a topic, but that works better towards you being open-ended, or you helping each other out. Maybe
Right.
the gym that you missed. You know what I'm saying? Maybe
Right.
I
But
can
we can agree to disagree and still have mad love for each other.
Definitely. And even having the because he could have, like, let's say, like for me and you, if I have a friend who doesn't have a father, you know what I'm saying? Maybe dropping some gems like, hey man, like you do this, you know what I'm saying? Do this and and hang out with me, you know what I'm saying? Like, come with me
Right.
one day, you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
having that father figure can push that too. You know what I'm saying? Coming together as a community can definitely push that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I agree with you. Oh my God, this is an amazing topic and conversation talk about mental health in the Black community and the lack of sometimes the awareness and just having open dialogue and having conversation and basically stopping this negative stigma. We have to stop the stigma by having conversations just like this, sharing stories, sharing our emotions, speaking and pressing and loving life back into each other as Black men and Black fathers and sons, and making sure that we know we are all healthy in that regards. We are so excited to be talking about today. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we have been talking about, if you're just now joining us, about the suicide rate and how it has increased among, can you believe it, among 10-year-olds, 10 to 14-year-olds, Black young men, 10 to 14, over the past 3 years, the suicide rate has quadrupled. And then if we're talking about even from 15 to 24, that TAY transitional age population, it has over doubled for our young men. And we have to have these conversations in order to stop the stigma. We have to stop suffering in silence. We have to speak up. We have to speak out. We have to live. And that's what it's all about. We have to have these conversations. They're so important, y'all. It is so important. I want to go back to some of the findings that I've been doing with dealing with mental health. Not only we're talking about distrust, we're talking about misdiagnosis, but we also talk about the socioeconomic disadvantages as well that can happen within a lot of communities of color, especially when we're talking about lack of insurance and not having insurance, or not having access to it, or you try and call in and the insurance company doesn't give you the right person. And then we won't even talk about, yes, we will talk about it. We'll talk about how we me as a Black male therapist, I make up 1% of the mental health field. And then if we include our Black sisters, that increases up to about 3% of the field. Now, if we bring in our Latino brothers, that might bring you up to maybe 5%. But then if we bring in our Latina sisters, that might bring us up to maybe 10%. And I'm stretching numbers here, y'all. I'm stretching numbers with that. So it's hard to talk about your feelings, what you're going through, when there definitely can be, and we have experienced, a lack of cultural competency and not having the cultural norms. I remember when I was in the wraparound program, And I would go into my Black families and even my Latino families, and they'd be like, whew, finally, someone who looks like us and who understands us in that regard. And there were a couple times where I had to go in there and explain to my Caucasian and white counterparts when the mama said, listen, I'm about to beat this kid. She goes, oh, well, you can't beat him with court. That's, we are mandated court reporters. Listen, honey, when she said beat him, she didn't mean like to put bruises and all that. She mean, listen, tap his behind and make sure he understand what's going on. I said, baby, just don't leave bruises. Whatever. but there is this language that we have with. Is that me or you beeping?
That's all right.
Okay. And there's a language and just cultural understanding, so we don't have to explain things that is also very much lacking that we have to do. So that's why it's so important that we have these these conversations, because we have to stop the stigma. We have to stop what the negative connotations and beliefs that's going on when it comes to mental health and what that's all about in that regard. Now, one of the things we have to also do is make mental health more I want to say approachable, even accessible. That's what the word I'm looking for. So it's more accessible so that we have it in our churches, so we have it in our barbershops and beauty salons. I'm all for taking it where the people are at, taking it where we frequent the most. I'm all for if we got to take it up in a couple bars and everything else and pass out some tracts or what tracts. I'm talking like I'm going to church. Lord have mercy. Whatever we got to do to get it there. Listen, even with the American Psychological Association, do you know that African Americans make up less than 2% of the membership? So there is definitely some work to be done, and I'm so grateful for definitely some now mental health profiles are being created, therapy for Black men, Black therapists, diaries, and so forth. There's definitely more of those things that are happening. And now today, even with Psychology Today and good therapy, they do put your picture up there so you can kind of scroll through, see who you're talking to, or even potentially will consider, have conversations, see what their emphasis is on and that type of thing. But let's talk mental health again. When we're talking about this in the African people, why do you think that why don't we talk enough about it? And I know I'm being redundant, but I don't think we can have enough conversations about this right now. Why don't we have these conversations, do you believe?
Like you said, the aspect of fear as well.
Okay.
That aspect of, well, man, if I express it to him, how are you gonna take it? Or how is he gonna listen to me? Is he gonna help me? Or you know what I'm saying? So I think that aspect of fear plays a big role in it too.
When people hear therapy, what do you think, especially men? Because I know my Black men are most resistant to it.
Yes.
They are. And I'm like, look, dog,
yeah,
I'm a therapist. I ain't neat. I'm just me. And I'm going to listen. If you don't like the term therapist, how about if I be your life coach? Yeah. And they like that term. We got to also speak in terms that people understand and break it down to the most simple common denominator. Because when you think of a coach, what do you think about? Define a coach, and what is the role of a coach?
The role of a coach is somebody who's supposed to push you. Somebody that's supposed to lead you in the right direction, give you be there when you're sad, be there when you're happy, but still keep your mind focused on a goal. So I think a coach is set goals for you. So yeah, somebody who you can relate to, somebody who's not afraid to get down and dirty with you as well.
Say that part again.
I said someone who's not afraid to get down and dirty with you.
So if someone who's not afraid to get down and dirty with you, what can and cannot, what can they do and what cannot they do?
I would say, so like example would be if I'm running or you telling me to run, like sometimes I'd be like, all right, like if I'm tired, you'd be like, all right, come on, we gonna run it together. Come on. Not somebody who's able to do it, you know, someone who's just there, you know. sometimes that person to talk to, or sometimes that person that can push your buttons. That can maybe anger you, but bring it out of you, you know. So
why do they sometimes anger you?
Because they're trying to get something out of you. They're trying to make sure you're good, and if somebody else pushes the button, that you don't fold, or that you don't get mad, you know, like you used to, or to.
Because their job is to get the very best out of you. And so when I talk to my male, especially Black men, clients like that, they understand that. I said, listen, my role is just to help get the best out of you. I can't do the job for you. You have to do the work.
Yeah.
My job is to stand on the sidelines, coach you through it, maybe show you how to do it, and then coach you through the rest. Sometimes I might yell. Sometimes I might not say anything at all. But a lot of times I'm going to make you do what? Practice. Because nobody likes practice. But if you don't put the work in practice, how is it going to show up in the game?
Yeah, true.
Right.
True.
So with that, so if we take away the negative stigma about therapy and what it is like, I definitely think that's going to help a lot of our communities so much more in that regards as well as we talk about this and so forth. What have you heard? What's been kind of some of the negative things, or even things that your generation has said, or some of your friends said about therapy itself?
I don't know. Let's ask.
Let's ask. Let's get there.
Whoa!
Come on in, since you're in there. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Tell her, hurry up.
Whoa!
Hello. Oh wow. Oh, we gotta fix that. You are live on the air with Mental Health Matters with Marty on More Radio Network, giving you more news, more media, more music, more jazz. Yes, and who are you today?
DeQuarius Harrington.
Okay, speak up loud, so don't be afraid now. Who you again?
I'm DeQuarius Harrington.
DeQuarius, and you're also a student. What are we studying?
Architecture.
Architect. Okay, great job. Yeah, we need more Black architects. When you hear the term, or even the saying of mental health, what does your generation and what do we, as especially young Black men, feel about mental health?
I would say that a lot of people kind of look at it as a negative thing, when it's not truly that. It's kind of just like you're trying to, trying to figure out this word.
Better yourself.
Yeah, basically better yourself, you know? It's not a negative thing at all. Like, everyone has something wrong with them, but not everyone is able to express that.
Okay. His phone binging is about to drive me crazy.
Hold on, let me fix it real quick.
Don't worry. So tell me this: Christian and I were talking about having conversations, especially young Black men having conversations. I don't know if you know that in the past 2 to 3 years, that suicide among Black men your age has doubled in the past 2 to 3 years, and the way that they are dying. Laying on train tracks, jumping in front of buses, jumping off of bridges, taking firearms and just killing themselves. So for your church, is it cool to have conversations about being sad, about being depressed, about just wanting to give up?
No, I think it's something that everyone should do, because like I was saying earlier, we all go through things, but not everyone's able to express themselves. And a lot of people are afraid to be judged. And like, if they feel like, oh, maybe if I'm telling this person I feel this way, that person's going to make me, or like not truly understand me, or they're going to say something negative or look at me like, oh, I'm a bad person, when it's not that at all.
Right.
I feel like everyone should just talk to someone, whether it's a close friend, just someone you feel like would listen to you, trust in. Yeah. And also, me personally, sometimes I feel like even if I talk to a stranger about certain things, it still like make me feel better, simply because I'm getting all of this stuff off of my chest.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, I will never probably speak to that person again. So it's either like I could like basically just move on from it.
And you, 2 points I want to make to that. You know, it's a travesty that we feel more comfortable talking to a stranger who we'll never see again about our problems instead of talking to another male role model, your close homeboys and everything. That's supposed to be your ride or die. The one that's like, oh yeah, you know, hey, to the homies and all that. You know, but even in that regards, we still have this fear. What will my homies think?
Exactly.
I much rather keep it to myself. And do you know that because of that, because we as Black men suppress a lot of things, that's where our anger. That's why we have these anger issues. Yeah. That's why we have these anger problems, because we are it's like that soda can and you just anger and shut up, don't tell nobody, and just getting faster and faster. And then the slightest crack, and we explode all over everybody, messing up everything. And now we then too embarrassed to clean up the mess. And so we just, men, we have a fight or flight type of mentality. We really do. Either we're going to fight everyone and shift the blame, or just run and not even deal with it at all. But if we had just had the conversations earlier, that could have helped definitely in that. With that. So I like that. But in the second point I was going to make to that, that's what you said, what a stranger having that conversation. To me, that's what the whole role of a therapist. Someone you don't know, who doesn't know you, who really doesn't have an opinion, but they're just there to guide you, to listen to you, so you can get it off your chest. There's so many Black men that I talk to, they're like, man, I didn't think this was going to help out, but, you know, I feel a little bit better now. You know, I'm all right, dog. You know, or the ones that just get pride. I don't need this. I'm like, no worries. It's when you're ready, I'm here. But that speaks so much to this and to do this. How can your generation begin to have, I say it this way, safe spaces, safe places to just unwind, unleash, relax, to share your true emotions without feeling judged or any of those things? Do those places exist? Or if not, how can we create those spaces?
I think definitely like having a person who understands our culture, understands us, maybe another Black man, more preferably, that understands us, maybe creating so I have had a homies come over after practice or something like that, or just something like, you know, a once a week meeting or something like that with a community or with a dude in the community, knowing your neighbors, you know what I'm saying, knowing your Black neighbors, knowing your African American neighbors, you know, knowing them, and maybe even considering maybe after school programs or signing up somebody for that. That's you know, really good for that, you know. So
DQ, what do you think? I'm sorry, Dequarius.
I was still thinking about that because I'm a deep thinker, so I'm really trying to figure out what we could do with this. I'm kind of like in the same direction as Chris. Like I feel like it would definitely be a good thing for someone like basically like a mentor, I guess, to have everyone in that culture, that community come together and like maybe like just have like some talks, motivate them, like try to just help them like get what they want to say out and like just listen and understand and be there for them without truly just sitting there and like judging them the whole time. I feel like
maybe even go as far as conferences if it gets that big. Having conferences at you know, somebody creating a conference or bringing a communicator like, hey, let's do this. Let's have a barbecue.
Go back to what you said. Someone do what?
creating a conference.
Is that a challenge that I hear that you and DeQuarius are going to create something like that? Oh my, I love it when young Black men come together and create stuff. You heard it here live on More Radio Network with Mental Health Matters with Marty. No, I get what you're saying. So how about this? I'm going to challenge you guys. I have an amazing young man. He's young. Dr. Robert Brown, who wrote this amazing book called Joker to King. And we have been talking about, Dr. McNeil is saying, challenge is on. We have been talking about putting together a young men's group. I'm not going to be a part of it, but because I want you guys to have on. So what I want to do is challenge both of you. If you both get 3 to 4 other men, young men your age, in this group, Dr. Brown is ready to start something. His book is phenomenal. He took a deck of cards, since there's 52 cards in a deck. Every week you get a new card, and that card speaks to a need in your life. So like hearts dealt with your love affairs and your things you love. Spades dealt with your finances. Diamonds maybe dealt with your finance, because diamonds is rich money. Yes. Spades dealt with your relationships. Hearts dealt with the things you love, and clubs dealt with your like career, occupation, schooling, and that type of thing. So your might have been a 2 of clubs. So that we're definitely talking about what are we dealing with our school and all that. So every week there was a different reflection about something that pertained to, from Joker to becoming that king of an ace of spades, a king of spades, that you're the top man. And how do we go from being the Joker to being the top on that? And it's a wonderful book. And he's actually doing his revised and making it into a workbook and breaking up. But he has also already agreed to put together, and Christian, you've met Dr. Brown before. And he's a Black father who has 2 young men, and his heart is to pour into young men so that we can really help do that. Dr. Nisa said, "Burr, burr, burr, don't you play with that." And I think that if you guys, I'm going to challenge you guys to get at least 3. I would prefer 4, at least 3. We can get this going. We can do this via Zoom or what have you. So location now is not even a problem, but I think you'll love the challenges, because you're right. We need, one thing I wish I had put more effort in was getting effective mentors to help guide me along the way in life, because mentors are so important, or life coaches in that. Definitely I would suggest to you, DQ is definitely finding you a Black role model who's in the engineering field, who can help guide you along the way. As Christians getting those, and I tell you this, also get your nonprofit. Guys, start your own businesses in that. So you start it now. It's a shame that we start things so late in our communities, because there are too many young people out there from different cultures that by the time they're 16, their nonprofit and their business corporation is already making them $100,000 a year. I have this client, 18 years old, who has his own store in downtown LA, prime property. Prime property downtown. And I'm being a coach to him on how to manage all of his emotions and dealing with family generational stereotypes and that type of thing. He is a beautiful combination. Father is a native from Egyptian, and his mother is from Mexico. So he speaks 3 languages: English, Arabic, and Spanish. Right. Just absolutely amazing in that. And we have to start pouring back into your lives as Black young men as well. So can we say challenge on?
Yeah, challenge on.
Challenge on. All right. I want to hear about this challenge. As we do that, because At this stage in my life, don't you say nothing, Christian, I'll jump through this Zoom and her. I'm in my coaching stages of life. My thing is, my goal is so you all don't have to bump your heads in the same direction that I did. I have a responsibility to pour back into both of you, pour back into you so that you guys can have a step up and not a hand out. That you have a hand up and not, in that regards for that. So in that, I'm loving this challenge as we're doing. We have about 5 more minutes left in this. So what challenges would you give to young Black men? Now, this really goes out to about 5 countries in Africa. So there are other Black young, African young men who will be listening to this from Ethiopia. I forget the other countries, and Dr. McNeil will send those over to us. But they are actively listening, and they want to hear what young Black men in America are experiencing with that. And what challenge would you give to them as African young men, and even as other Black men, young Black men here in America? Let's go with you, Christian, and then DeQuarius. I will give you time to kind of get real deep and think through this.
I would say the challenge would be get together with, just get together with your friends or people you trust and have those conversations, have those generational conversations that you feel is there, or have those, have that mentor come around and do as such. That guides the meeting, ask different questions or explain it, like helps them with their feelings. That would be my challenge. Maybe it meets once a month. Maybe it meets, maybe it's somebody you can call or get a Zoom session with, or as such. So.
Awesome. So right now it goes through, and we got so far people who've responded from Kenya, Uganda, South Africa, Brazil, Ecuador, Peru, Jamaica, Haiti, Holland, Canada, France, and England. So these are all people listening from all of these places in the world, y'all, right now listening to us. What advice would you say, DeQuarius, about that?
I would say start to write how you feel out a lot.
Nice.
Because that's me. That's what I'm doing personally. I just write. And then I kind of will go to someone that I trust, that I'm really close with, or I just feel like they're good at listening rather than wanting to always talk first. So I would just, me personally, say go to them, and whatever you have on your mind, thoughts or questions, I would go to them, ask them, and see what type of information they could, or advice they could give you on that. So basically, like I said, I would just challenge everyone, or Black men like me, to start writing and just start getting comfortable with just getting comfortable and trying to express themselves better. And once you figure out what you really want to say, just go and ask whoever you feel close to, or that you feel like they will understand you and not judge you, and see what they'll help you with.
Yes. We did have an email that came in and says, what can African-American male do to relieve pinned up anger? I love what you said about journaling and writing. Is so important, because we have all those things bottled up in us. Writing those things out. Definitely, like you said, finding a mentor, physical activity, playing basketball, playing football, running, hopscotch, I don't care, jogging, riding a bicycle, taking walks, getting all of that pent up frustration out, putting them in boxing, in those type of things, getting them involved in other activities with other kids, not degrading them. That I think you guys said it, Christian, you talked about earlier, and both DeQuarius, you did too. So many young men are afraid of being shamed, embarrassed. What we call is respect. We call it respect. You disrespected me. That is so in other words, when you disrespect a young black man, you're shaming them. You're calling them out. You put them on the spot. And if they did not have this foundation to say, listen, dog, it's okay. I didn't mean that. We got to look for those triggers, and when they're angry and hurt, and giving them permission to cry, giving them permission to say, I'm not okay. Working out different outlets like that, finding them a mentor, talking to, if dad is not in their lives, finding where the hell dad is at in that regards, or finding another mentor or something that one of the African proverbs that I think we failed, it takes a village. It takes a village to raise our children today. Christian knows, putting him on the spot, I'll call his godfather. I said, listen, you come and talk to him, because I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to kill him. In fact, you can take his clothes. He can come live with you. In that. Listen, we are wrapping up. Oh, my goodness. The time has gone by so quickly. I want to thank DeQuirt. Thank you for coming on with us. This was good. Thank you, son. Thank you. I appreciate you. You still owe me lunch or dinner or something. I don't know. But listen, you have been listening to More Radio Network, and this is Mental Health Matters with Marty. Also, join us on this coming Wednesday at 4 p.m. If you did not catch this in its entirety, we'll be replaying this on Wednesday at 4 p.m. and Friday at 12 noon. Again, as May is Mental Health Awareness Month, we don't want you to suffer in silence, but we want you to speak up, speak out, and live. We cannot keep this bottled up any longer. Y'all, we have to have these conversations. So glad we had these two young men in our studio today talking to us about what it means about mental health in our Black community, and mental health among men. Again, so we're going to continue this dialogue, and I would love to, maybe we'll try to get Dr. Brown on here, talk about Joker the King next week, and have you guys on too. I think it'd be an amazing dialogue to have and to share that, and even bring on some of your young friends who at least get one other that we can talk about this, continue this conversation next week. We'll talk about mental health matters in the month of May, because it really does. Again, you've talked to Marty Sellers again here with Mental Health Matters with Marty on More Radio Network. Again, don't suffer in silence, but speak up, speak out, and live. We'll see you next week. Enjoy.